Planning a destination wedding and worried about what your guests are going to think? Let's talk about that in this video. Hey, I'm Jack with Vacationese. Do me a favor and subscribe to this video. I do post new videos every Tuesday. So here's the thing. One of the most important things about having a destination wedding is your guests. It's something we think about all the time. When I'm helping clients pick resorts for their destination wedding, one of the things I always talk about is let's learn more about your guests. Again, this wedding is all about you, but unless we pick the right resort that we know is appropriate for your guests, we're going to have issues. So let's talk about some of the things that we hear about from your guests. With your guests, part of the problem is we are pushing many people out of a comfort zone. When we look at a standard destination wedding, we find that about 50% of the people attending a destination wedding have never been to an all-inclusive resort, and many of them have never been out of the country. So we really have to simplify this and pick a great location so they understand the destination as well as the resort. We want to make sure to make it easy for them to choose to say, yes, I want to attend your destination wedding. So how do we do that? Again, the first thing we do is think about how well traveled are they? What type of food do they like? What do they want to do on their vacation? And we try to put that all into the big picture of the resorts that we may suggest in working with you. Again, if all your guests are going to be adults, we probably want to choose an adults-only resort. If you're going to have a lot of guests with teenagers, we need to find a resort to keep those teenagers busy. So if we want your guests to be happy, we need to plan the wedding around you, but also around them. Now let's go on the premise that a lot of these people have never traveled before. We need to find an airport from where you live to where they're going that's simple for them to get to. We don't want to have to be with a client that's in Maine and having them want to go to Hawaii. I can tell you if you do that, very few people are going to attend your wedding. So the key is, what I try to look for is, what are the airports that your guests are flying from, and where do you want to go, and do we have a good number of non-stop flights and a good number of one-stop flights? Because we want to keep this as uncomplicated as possible. Just keep it simple for them so they can get on one plane and hopefully get off at the destination wedding location, to keep it really easy for them. So again, when they think about it, it doesn't scare them to think, oh my gosh, I have to fly through Dallas, Atlanta, wherever. I've never been there. What about my luggage? And all these questions we constantly hear. So we need to look at your guests flying. Now, the other thing you should think about is not every guest is going to come. Now, don't get upset about that. But with a destination wedding, as I probably talked about last week, and things that shock people, is about 50% of your guests will come. Now, do you want more than that? Do you want less than that? Again, periodically I'll talk to a client that'll say, look, I don't really care. Like, I'm inviting 100 people. If 30 show up, the right 30, that's all I care about. And that's fine. But on the other hand, I have clients that will invite 100 and have 20. And then as we get closer to the wedding, they are just upset. They're upset with themselves, with their friends, with their family. So that's why I always think about what's best for the guest as well as you. So if you want more people to attend, few tricks. One is, make sure it's an amazing resort. Make sure it's priced right, whatever that means. Again, we have to understand your guests. What I will say to you, for 2025, we're planning weddings for 2025 and 26. If the cost for your 4-night stay is between, say, $1,300 to $1,800 per person at a 5-star all-inclusive resort, beach resort, which is where most of our weddings are, we do not get pushback from your guests. If you have an expectation that people are coming to your wedding for $500 or $600 to an amazing resort, not happening for quality. But you need to have quality or your guests will be there and will hate it and think they spent $10,000. So again, we want to make sure this is a great experience for your guests. Now, one of the other truths is there are going to be naysayers. There are going to be people you invite that are going to try to talk you out of it if they haven't tried already. There are going to be people that have reasons why they can't come. So let me give you some funny reasons. One is not so funny. I don't have a passport. Okay, not a problem. We typically will give our guests 1 year from the time of the wedding. We'll build a website for our clients, and the guests will have 1 year to plan for the wedding. On our websites, we tell people, you need a passport. The key is today that if you have a year to get a passport, there should be no problem in the US and Canada getting a passport in a year. Now, other things we hear are naysayers on why they don't want to come. I have to fly on an airplane. Okay, take a deep breath on that one. Yes, the majority of time, if you're going to an international location, such as Mexico, the Caribbean, Hawaii, they are going to have to fly on an airplane. Now look, there are people that are afraid to fly on airplanes. There's nothing we can do about it, so you just have to respect that. The other thing we hear is it's expensive. Okay, the reality is the cost of a destination wedding for your guests is going to be the cost for them to go on vacation. Now, if they don't go on vacations, they've never been on vacations, then this may seem like it's expensive, which goes back to my idea that we need to pick amazing resorts. When your guests here, they're going to go for 5 nights. They have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's all included. All their drinks are included. All their activities are included. Room service is included. They're going to go, wow, this sounds like the deal of a century. Thanks for picking it for me. So when you do have those naysayers, you are going to have people tell you why you shouldn't have a destination wedding, but it's our job as your travel partner to talk to them to see if we can overcome the concerns they have so that they're not putting it on you. Now, one of the other things you have to be concerned about is your guests are going to wonder, like, what's in it? Like, they don't get it, right? So we try to make this as simple for them as possible. We build a website so that they can see everything, the rooms, what the requirements are, when the payment dates are, when the travel dates are. We make ourselves available to talk to them on the phone, by text, by email, because your guests, again, going back to the premise that many of them have not been to an all-inclusive resort, are going to have questions. And if they call you, have them call us, your travel partner. That's what we are here for. We're knowledgeable about those resorts. You may have guests. We just had someone recently. Funny things, are afraid to ask brides and grooms and talk to people that had sleep apnea. Can I bring my CPAP? I had someone recently ask me if they could bring their dog. They have a service dog and they're nervous about flying. So that we are here to help your guests have a great experience so they're not naysayers. So they thank you for inviting them to the wedding. And what's most important is they have a great time. Now, the last thing I will tell you, the truths we hear from guests about attending destination weddings, it was perfect. They loved hanging out with you. They were enjoying your events. How often do they see a friend get married on a beach versus on a stage at a hotel at home? So I think that when you plan the destination wedding, yes, you may get some negative feedback from your guests, but the reality is if you work with a travel partner that's going to help you pick the perfect resort, and understand about your guests, because it is important. You are planning a vacation for these people, that they will have an amazing time, your wedding will be perfect, and you will have great memories of 4, 5, 6 days of hanging out with your guests on the beach, at the pool, at the swim up pool bar, eating dinner with them, having room service, going for a run, playing golf, whatever you can think of. But those are all the important things you have to talk to your travel planner about when you pick your resort. So hopefully this information is helpful in terms of thinking about what your guests are thinking about for your destination wedding so that you have an amazing wedding. And I'm Jack with Vacation Ease.